per New Year's tradition, we're once again able to reveal the bulk of Ibanez's new lineup for 2019, and there are plenty of highlights among this year's batch. Schecter's gotten its 2019 off to an early start, unveiling a full lineup of 16 new guitars. 8 of the company's new models are part of its Reaper line, and feature exposed swamp ash curves with a vibrantly finished burl top. In addition, Nick Johnson, In This Moment's Chris Howarth and Randy Weitzel all have new signature models, with the latter two getting a new V each. You can check out a gallery featuring each of the new models below. For more info on all of the guitars, head on over to schecterguitars.com. Guitar virtuoso Guthrie Govan has commented on Deep Purple legend Richie Blackmore calling Joe Satriani's playing too polished, telling Music Radar during a recent interview. "It amuses me that someone from that generation looks for the fastest, most technically proficient player so they can pick on him. And they always go for Joe Satriani, leaves me cold, etc. and he's the worst possible target because he's such a melodically aware player. Let's give Joe a break, he's a real musician, He's a real guitar player, he has a voice of his own and it's very human. But it puzzles me when people have to dismiss something largely because they can't do it, especially when back in the day they would have lapped up the air of mystery around them because they could do what most other guitar players couldn't, and maybe they miss that now. Ritchie Blackmore was asked in an interview with Guitar World magazine what he thought about Yngwie Malmsteen, as he often credits him as a big influence. "He's always been very nice to me, and I always get on very well with him. I don't understand him, though, his playing, what he wears. His movements are also a bit creepy. Normally you say, well, the guy's just an idiot. But, when you hear him play you think, this guy's no idiot. He knows what he's doing. He's got to calm down. He's not Paganini, though he thinks he is. When Yngwie can break all of his strings but one, and play the same piece on one string, then I'll be impressed. In 3 or 4 years, we'll probably hear some good stuff from him." He also gave his opinion on guitar tapping, and how he is happy to see the last of it. "Thank goodness it's come to an end. The first person I saw doing that hammer-on stuff was Harvey Mandel, at the Whiskey A Go-Go in '68. I thought, what the hell is he doing? It was so funny, laughs. Jim Morrison was carried up because he was shouting abuse at the band. Jimi Hendrix was there. We were all getting drunk. Then Harvey Mandel starts doing this stuff, mimes tapping. What's he doing?" Everybody was saying. Even the audience stopped dancing. Joe Satriani recently spoke about what it was like to replace Ritchie Blackmore in Deep Purple from 1993 and '94, admitting it was a bit of an intimidating gig. He said, "I did feel a bit like a rookie. I was just a couple of years into the sort of accidental career as an instrumentalist, and then all of a sudden I get this call to replace a legend. You can't replace somebody like Ritchie Blackmore. So I kind of knew it was gonna be a thankless job from the fans' point of view, who have already bought tickets to the shows. There was a level of uncomfortableness, but I think it was all in my head. I think anybody who walks out on stage knowing that they're not the guy that the audience knows and loves, that they're the replacement, they've got a little mental game they've got to play every night they're on stage. They have to kinda try not to think like the audience. But I couldn't help it. I was such a big fan of Deep Purple and such a great fan of Ritchie Blackmore. There was a lot of sort of internal battles going on where every time I go to play Smoke on the Water, I would just hear every single note in detail that Ritchie played and I kept thinking, why play it any different? That's perfect. But, of course, the guys in the band really wanted me to be Joe. They just kept saying, do whatever you want, Joe. We'd love to hear your style over this. Forget about Ritchie. And it was impossible for me because I grew up listening and trying to imitate Ritchie Blackmore, as any young kid my age would, growing up when I did. So the experience was exhilarating. It was super fun because I was so excited to play with a legendary band, still mildly starstruck, even though I got to know these guys very well."
On Vancouver radio station CFOX, Metallica's Kirk Hammett spoke fairly candidly about his experience taking guitar lessons with Joe Satriani. It was actually very poignant, Hammett said of his first lesson with Satriani. "His first lesson to me was, learn your lesson. Don't waste your time, don't waste my time. I expect you to know everything that I gave you in a week's time." I was like, this guy is serious. But you know what? I did it, and he kicked my ass. But after a while, I was taking 2 lessons a week from him. I became so thirsty for what he had to offer me, I was just like, bring it on. It's all making sense. I want to learn more. Hammett then discussed Satriani as a player, saying ever since I first met him, he's always played incredibly, with all the sounds and all the bar stuff and tapping and crazy licks that no one's ever played and still probably never plays. I mean, he's just such a unique individual as a musician.